Hey guys, class will be a little bit different today. Miss Huey is also out. So what we're gonna do is just want you guys to watch this video, take notes. This is the worksheet for today that you guys have to work on. And we're gonna start with number 1 and we're gonna work our way down the row. So what I want you to do is utilize the rules that you've learned so far this week. So for everything that you've learned from Monday and Tuesday and weeks prior to now, because today what we're going to do is put together everything that we've already learned. So today you'll see questions where you have to add integers, subtract integers, multiply integers, and divide. So you'll have the whole shebang in one worksheet today. Excuse me. So the first one says -5 plus a -4. And if we remember from our rules, when adding integers and the signs are the same, we do what? Add, right? When adding integers and the signs are the same, we always add. So 5 plus 4 is, in this case, going to be a -9, because also when adding integers and the signs are the same, you have to keep the sign. So in this case, our sign is negative. So we're going to keep that sign. So we're going to move on to the second one. So I'm probably not going to do the entire worksheet, but I do want to make sure that I touch on at least one or maybe two of each of the different problems. So the next one says -3 plus a +1. So in this case, the signs are not the same. Excuse me, but we are adding. So it says, again, -3 plus a +1. And we know that when we're adding integers and the signs are different, we subtract. So if the signs are different and we subtract here, 3 minus 1 would give us 2. But in this case, we have to take the sign of the -3 because -3 is further away from 0 on the number line than 1 is. So our answer is -2. So this is one of the new rules that you learned when you multiply integers. So in this case, the rules say when multiplying a positive times a positive, your answer is positive. So all we need to figure out here is, excuse me, because it says -2 times -7, and the rules also say, so when multiplying a positive times a positive, the answer is positive, and when multiplying a negative times a negative, the answer is positive, and when multiplying a negative times a positive, the answer is negative. So in this case, we have two negative numbers. So we have a negative here and a negative here. And I just said that a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So a -2 times a -7 is a positive. 2 times 7, which is 14. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm going to erase this because I don't want that on here. We're going to move on to the next one. We have a +3 times a -1. So I just said when you're multiplying and you have a positive times a negative, you get a negative. So here, 3 times -1 is, if we multiply a positive times a negative and get a negative, our answer is -3, because 3 times 1 is 3, but in this case we have a positive times a negative, so we get a -3. So in the next one, we have an addition sign as our operation in between. So here we have a -3 plus a +9. And if we remember correctly from our rules, it says when adding integers and the signs are different, then we have to subtract. So here, 9 minus 3 is, I'll give you a second. 9 minus 3 is 6. And in order to figure out which sign we take, we have to see which number is furthest away from 0 on the number line. So is it -3 or is it +9? I think we all know that it's +9. So our answer here is a +6, because remember we subtracted and we're taking the sign of the number that's furthest away from 0. Excuse me. So our next question says -3 minus -3 times a +3. So just like the one we had above, if we have a negative times a positive, we get a negative, correct? So 3 times 3 equals 9. But in this case, since we have a negative times a positive, that is a -9. Okay, let's look at the next one. This row didn't have any division problems. That's fine, because the next one does. Okay, so let's look at the next one. We have a -5 times a +5. So this one is just like the one we did above. If we have a negative times a positive, your answer is negative. So in this case, all we need to know is what 5 times 5 is. And 5 times 5 is, what's 5 times 5? Give me a second. 25. Good job. 5 times 5 is 25. But in this case, we have to have a -25, because our rules say a negative times a positive is a negative. So that's a -25. All right. The next one is where we have to do our keep, change. So underneath here, I'm going to type what I have once I do my keep, change. Because if you remember, when you're subtracting integers, you keep the sign of the first number. Let me put my plus sign, because we keep, and then we change our operation from subtraction to addition, and then we also change our next number, which in this case goes from a -9 to a +9. I'm going to put that equal sign back. So now we have a very simple question. We have a +1 plus a +9, which through and through is only 1 plus 9, which gives us a +10. So I'm going to come back up here and type 10. Excuse me. So this one is kind of like the one we just did. We're subtracting again. So here we have a +8. See, I'm going to make sure that I show my work for this problem, because if not, it might be a little hard for Miss Walton, i.e. myself, to understand, you know, your thought process. So here we're going to keep the positive 8, change that subtraction sign to a plus sign, and we're going to change this -2 to a +2, and close parentheses equals. So here it's just like the one we did above. We have a +8 plus a +2, which also equals 10. So type 10 here. Another subtraction problem. Here we have a -7 minus a +2. So this one is a little bit different from the ones we did above, but it's still a subtraction problem. So we still have to keep change, because remember, whenever we're subtracting, we have to keep change. So like I said, I'm going to show my work. I encourage you to show your work. So, you know, if you make a mistake, I can always tell you what you did wrong. But if not, I won't really understand your thought process of what you're doing for your problem. So here I kept the -7. I changed the minus sign to a plus sign, and I also changed my +2 to a -2. So now, remember, when you're adding integers and the signs are the same, you add or you subtract. So in this case, we're adding and the signs are in fact the same. We have a -7 and a +2, so we're going to add, and we're going to keep the sign, because when adding integers and the signs are the same, you add and keep the sign. So we're going to keep our negative sign, and our answer is here, -9. So I'm going to come back up, I'm going to drag that down some, and my answer is -9. So I'm going to make these the last two, because I'm almost out of time for my video, and I wanted to touch on at least one division problem. I'm not sure why. It looks like this is literally one of 2 division problems, which may be good for you guys. Okay. So here we're multiplying and remembering the rules. If we multiply a negative times a negative, we get a what? Positive, yes. Okay, so here all we need to know is what 4 times 7 is. And 4 times 7 is, what's 4 times 7? I'm going to give you a second. 28, and it's going to be a positive 28, because I just said when we multiply integers and the signs are both negative, we have a negative times a negative, and you're multiplying, your answer is a positive. So we have here a positive 28. So the cool thing about these is multiplying and dividing integers pretty much have the same rules. It's just a different operation in between them. So here we have a -18 divided by a -6. And just like when you're multiplying, when you divide a negative times a negative, excuse me, I'm less than a minute, a negative times a negative, you get a positive. So here all we need to know is what 18 divided by 6 is, which is a +3. And it's positive because I just said when you multiply, well, excuse me, well, I mean it's the same, but I meant to say divide. When you divide a negative by a negative, you get a positive answer. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to stop here because I only have about 30 seconds left for this video. But I want you to complete this entire worksheet and make sure that you submit it and do your exit slip, and don't forget to do your bell ringer. I miss you guys, and be sure to still complete your assignments. Have a good day.